Hey there, my name is Alex, I am the Silvermont, and this is my review of Warriors Orochi 4, aka Musou Orochi 3. Quick disclaimer time, this video is sponsored by Massdrop, a community-driven store where the users decide which products will drop, and the more people who vote for a product, the cheaper the price. Good way to get some high-end headphones or other tech for a discounted price. Warriors Orochi is published by Koei, and I bought the game with my own money on launch day, as I am a big fan of the Warriors series, and Warriors Orochi in particular. If you've seen my channel trailer, you'll spy a couple of clips in there from the second Orochi game. But, that out of the way, let's get started. What is Warriors Orochi? A crossover between Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors. The heroes of Three Kingdoms era China and Sengoku era Japan are transported through time and space to a new world, in a universe full of gods and mystics. If you've played any Musou or Warriors games, then you have a rough idea of how the gameplay works. If you haven't, then the gameplay accompanying this review should give you a great idea. The basic idea behind Musou is 1 versus 1,000 combat. Of course, in Orochi you control a team of 3 characters, and you can rack up far more than a mere 1,000 KOs. The basic gameplay loop is that you head through a map or field and defeat hundreds or thousands of enemy peons, and the stronger enemy officers, fulfilling objectives along the way. Attacks are primarily split between normal attacks and charge attacks, which can be combined in various ways. Dynasty characters behave slightly different to samurai characters. Dynasty characters have 2 EX attacks as well as 2 Musou attacks, whereas samurai characters can have more charges, as well as special hyper attacks that cover a lot of distance and are great against peons, but limited use against officers. Then we have Musou attacks, or super attacks you could say. As mentioned, every Dynasty character has 2 Musou attacks, one for the ground, one for the air. Samurai characters only have 1 for the ground. Then we have the mechanics unique to Warriors Orochi 4, the magic system. Every character in the game is equipped with the sacred treasure of the gods. For example, Thor's Mjolnir hammer, Poseidon's trident, the Japanese Totsuka no Tsurugi, and so forth. These are used for magic attacks that expend a meter that refills rapidly by itself. Each sacred treasure has a weak attack, a charge attack, as well as a super attack, which is unique for every character, even though some characters share treasures. For example, whilst 5 different characters might use the Bow of Artemis, for example, they'll share the weak and charge attacks, but the special attack is unique to each character. Another new mechanic is the Unity attack, wherein once you have filled a meter, you can have your entire team fire a giant spirit bomb that clears your screen. For the most part, Warriors Orochi doesn't do too much to throw up the system, but it's a system that works and didn't need much change. Dynasty Warriors 6 and Dynasty Warriors 9 both opted for new combat systems, and whilst I commend them the effort in trying, both 6's Renbu system and 9's Flow system were objective failures. Orochi 4 uses the combat essentially from Dynasty 8 and Samurai 4, and has the characters from those games. Speaking of which, there's something like 170 characters in the game. 170, and they are all unique. There are no clones in the entire cast, outside of, arguably, the titular Orochi and his powered-up Shin Orochi form. Every single character has a unique weapon, and Shin Orochi is only a partial clone at that. So, how about modes? The game has 2 modes, story mode and a competitive online battle mode that I haven't touched because it's been impossible to find any matches and it looks dumb anyway. So for the most part you just have story mode. In the story you have main missions and side missions, all of which can be replayed at any time. There are 3 difficulty levels to start with: easy, normal and hard. Once you beat the game, you will unlock chaos difficulty, where you can get, the best items and weapons. Then there's a 4th difficulty known as Pandemonium, which is random based. Now and then a mission will fall into Pandemonium, and you have a limited time to play it at high difficulty and unlock powerful items, whilst being chased by a powerful character who randomly spawns around the map. For every level, you are graded on your performance from D to S, or something like that, and every mission has 3 bonus objectives that you can fulfill for extra goodies. The story itself is pretty damn long too, I would say around 50 hours roughly. You'll gradually unlock more and more characters, which keeps it from getting repetitive. Every single mission has its own elite characters, who it suggests you try on that mission, as they'll get bonus experience. And you know, it encourages you to try out new characters as you get them. There is also online co-op for up to 2 players, and to my pleasant surprise, it actually works. I've played several hours with a friend and we've had no disconnects or crashes when playing together, outside of one time when the whole internet itself just went down. That's right, the whole internet. Do keep in mind, however, that the co-op is quite poorly implemented. Let's say Bob, Fred and Jimothy are playing together. Bob invites Jim to his session and they clear a level. Whilst Jim will receive any weapons and experience gathered during the level, it won't count that level as completed. What this means is you will have to do every level twice if you are playing through the game with a friend. Once with them hosting, once with you hosting. It is a slight annoyance, but at least it gives you the chance to stockpile EXP to level up characters, which you would probably have to do anyway. Another very stupid problem with the co-op is that the room-based system it uses doesn't allow you to, well, do anything. Once again, let's say Jim enters Bob's room and then decides he wants to change his characters or his weapons. Too bad, he can't. Which means that you have to rejoin the room between every single mission if you want to change characters or weapons. It's a minor inconvenience to be sure, but it's definitely poor design and hopefully something they will fix. But I wouldn't hold my breath there. But it's nice to finally have a Warriors game with functioning online, even if there's some hilarious glitches and bugs you can run into. So maybe at this point you're thinking, okay, Alex, I like the look of this game, but it's the 4th Orochi game. I haven't played any of the others, let alone the 5 million Dynasty and Samurai games. Will I have absolutely no idea what's going on? I'm glad you asked. See, Orochi 4 does a surprisingly good job of being good for newcomers. Events from the prior Orochi games are mentioned, but there's a very convenient memory wipe, so nobody really knows what's going on and remembers anything, so from their perspective, it's Orochi 1 all over again. So it's explained well enough for new players to follow. There's also a gallery where you, amongst other things, can read up on the older games to get a summary of what happened. On the flip side, if you have played the other games in the franchise and are a fan, you'll get a kick out of the character interactions. Even if characters are flanderized to a large degree, that's a caveat we must expect in a game with 170 characters. They all kind of get boiled down to one aspect of their personality. The story itself revolves around the machinations of Olympus. Zeus is up to some mischief, and you need to figure out what he's doing. Asgard plays a role too, so you can expect to see heroes from Norse mythology, Greek mythology, alongside those mystics who make up the Asian side, characters like Susanoo, Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, and so forth. Sadly, it's very likely that your favourite character won't get as much screen time as you like, again because the game has such a huge cast. However, every single character has at least a few things to do, and there are events at your camp where you can see characters talking to each other. Likewise, each character that joins you is accompanied by a short bio to give you a rough idea of who they are and what they are famous for, so don't worry if you don't know your Yu-Jin from your Yu-Jin, or your Cao Cao from your Cao Pi, they've got you covered. Also, if perchance you get into the game and find yourself interested and want to learn more about the characters from their respective franchises and histories, then I would suggest Dynasty Warriors 7, which has the best story mode of the Dynasty Warrior games. On the Samurai Warriors side, the second game is great, but quite old and probably hard to get hold of at this point. Failing that, check out the 2010 Chinese TV series Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which is a great watch. It's almost like a Chinese version of Game of Thrones, with all the political intrigue and large battles. As for Warriors Orochi 4, well, let's finish this up by talking about the performance and then the DLC. The PC performance goes up to 60 frames per second, I don't think it can go higher, and although initially my version wouldn't go beyond 1080p, it later changed its mind and would let me play at 1440p. So I'm assuming it will support your monitor's resolution, you just might need to restart the game a few times. Koei have said they are aware of and working on performance issues, but these haven't personally affected me. By the time this review is out, it's possible there will be a patch that has improved it, but beware that people are having very conflicting reports on the performance. For some people it's fine, for others it's really not fine. Finally, my biggest issue with this game is the DLC. On day one, when the game launched, there was already $100 worth of DLC. That is frankly unacceptable in my opinion. Most of this DLC is cosmetic, stuff like costumes or mounts, but the sheer quantity of it, and the fact that it's content that was ready by release and should have been included in the base game but wasn't, just so they can sell it, that rankles me. Past games have included alternate costumes that you could unlock. There's none in this game, outside of a few loyalty or pre-order early adopter bonuses. For example, if you own Dynasty Warriors 9 on Steam, then you'll also unlock like 5 Dynasty Warriors 9 costumes. But not for every character. Why not for every character? I don't know. Probably so they can sell it to us later. The stance Koei have on DLC is genuinely awful. At least it's only cosmetic stuff, and at least these problems aren't directly influencing the enjoyment of the game, not like Dynasty Warriors 9, which I maintain is one of the most disappointing games I've ever played. Nearly every aspect of that game's design is objectively broken or stupid. The gameplay issues in Warriors Orochi 4 are far less extreme, such as the poorly thought out rim system for online, or the fact that characters are constantly speaking during battle, meaning you'll have to pause if you want to see what they're saying. Because the game only has a Japanese dub, there are English subtitles, but no English voice actors, so when characters are talking in the middle of combat, you generally won't have time to read it unless you pause and look at it. Thankfully they do give you a log of messages, which is nice, but it's still, I don't know, it's a bit wonky there. The DLC is incredibly disappointing, and I was hoping that after the release of Neo, which was a great game, if a little flawed, which had fairly decent DLC as well, I was hoping that Koei would put their big boy boots on and stop all these horrible, just terrible DLC practices. But that about does it for Warriors Orochi 4. If you're a fan of the Warriors games, then I recommend it. If you aren't a fan, well, if the gameplay in this video piqued your curiosity, then maybe pick the game up now or in a sale sometime and see what you think of it. Of course, if you have any questions about the game or the franchise, do ask down below in the comments. I've been playing Warriors since 2001, so I have an unhealthy amount of knowledge there and can probably help you out. I have been Alex, the Silvermont, and this has been Warriors Orochi 4. And this video was sponsored by Massdrop, the community-driven commerce website. What do they have up there? Well, they have headsets, mechanical keyboards, other gaming tech, trading card games, cameras, accessories, and apparel. Apparel? I think it's apparel. We'll go with that. Let's say you're looking for a keyboard on there, and there's lots of other users vote on the same keyboard. Massdrop will then procure it by demand and get a discounted price. So if you don't mind waiting a little longer and aren't in a rush to get something like tomorrow, it's possible to get some great deals. You could say they operate very much on the notion of supply and demand. So if you're in the market for a new keyboard, mouse or headset, give them a shot. Until next time, you take care.